Hey everybody. So this is an introduction to our notes activity for today, which is going to focus on one of the four questions that we're going to be answering in this class, which is what causes behavior. Um, the way you should approach this is you should begin by reading through the question and how to write it. So we're going to take each question on its own, and you're going to first learn how to ask the question. It's pretty simple, but you should have a format for it. Um, And then we're going to talk about what the question means or what you do to answer the question. So biologists are interested in answering questions, but you got to make sure that the answer to your question actually answers your question. So understanding the question is a key part of that. And for animal behaviorists, we need to understand what our question is in the first place. So for the question of the cause of a behavior, you're really trying to figure out what comes before it. And a lot of students, and it might be you, they struggle with this at first. It seems easy to answer, like, what causes the duck to quack, or whatever it is. But it's surprisingly, students often get it confused with a different question, which is what's the result of the behavior. You have to be thinking about what comes before the behavior that you see happening occurs. In this class, you're going to be asked to make predictions about the answers to causes, because when it comes to animal behavior, we rarely can see all of the different kinds of we rarely know everything there is to know about a behavior. So whenever you see a behavior, it may have never been studied by scientists. In fact, there's so many behaviors that it likely hasn't been. But even if it has, they probably haven't answered all of the questions. So a lot of times what scientists are left doing is making reasonable predictions about what the cause or the result of a behavior is. So to make the prediction, you need to understand the question in greater detail. And so to make the prediction, I give you some guidelines here. Whenever you make a prediction about the cause of a behavior, my expectation is that you try to predict and show me you understand that there are going to be internal and external causes or triggers. There need to be both. Both of them have to be present for a behavior to occur. So then you're given a task and you're asked to evaluate a couple of scenarios. So the first task, and I'm going to just show you this video here. It's a video of a goose. Behavior that was studied by some of the first ethologists, which are animal behaviorists. And it might look strange because we see a goose rolling a bowling ball, or not a bowling ball, a pool ball into its nest.
An egg needn't be white or even egg-shaped.
Little Matryoshka doll. Right? Bulb. But there's a similar pattern here. Anytime there's something kind of hard and sort of small-ish egg-shaped, kind of,
In her
when
eyes,
this isn't really even egg-shaped,
can pass for an egg.
sitting just outside of their nest, they'll roll it back into the nest. Now, this behavior makes sense if you think about it in the context of a behavior that a goose would do with its own egg. So, of course, a goose is going to do this when it is when it's rolling its own egg back into the nest. I need to find my. There we go. So here's how I would evaluate the behavior. Let's say you saw this goose rolling things into its nest, and you noticed that anytime any hard, small object was next to its nest, it would roll it into its nest, including if its own egg fell out. This behavior, you'd have to give it a name. So this is a category name. This comes from an ethogram if you were to write an ethogram about the behavior. And my family's laughing hysterically at something in the background. The category name in this case I gave the behavior was egg retrieval. I just made that up. This would be like if you had to write an ethogram about it, like you did in the last unit, this is the name you'd give it. So I just called it egg retrieval, even though they're not always retrieving an egg. The question I would ask, since we're always asking about the cause of the behavior in this example, is what is the cause of egg retrieval behavior? And then the predicted answer that I give, showing I understand both internal and external causes, is that the behavior could be caused by the external presence of something small and hard outside of the nest. Because they will roll different colored shapes and objects, the egg itself can't be the cause. Internally, though, it must be caused by some feeling that the goose has related to nesting and protecting their eggs. And the goose is likely feeling protective of those small, hard objects. And that's an internal feeling, that feeling of protection. And now you're going to try it. So now the practice number 1, you're going to watch this video. You want to watch it from 1 minute 11 seconds to 1 minute and 35 seconds. You're going to see an immature seagull. It's going to be the gray one, pecking at the beak of its parent. That'll be the white and gray one. After a series of pecks, the parent's going to throw up some food for the young to eat. And that pecking behavior is critical to the young's survival. It's been observed that when a bird doesn't peck at its parent's beak, they're fed less. So watch the behavior, and then I want you to do what I did up here. And I want you to give it a category name, call it whatever you think is an appropriate name for it if you were going to write an ethogram about what the baby bird is doing. Write the question down. We're all asking the question about the cause, and you can figure out how to write the question up here. Okay. And then you're going to give me a predicted answer that shows me you understand what a behavior cause is and that you understand the internal and external causes. So give that a go, and let me know if you have questions.